I cry and I feel it like really painful and hurting, but at the same time it was interesting how literature just brings us like those kind of feelings.
Hi guys! Welcome to a brand new episode of Who Reads Story. As you know, I'm your host, Song Yujin. Now, last week we talked about Korean dramas, and the week before we talked about Korean movies. And today it's time to delve into the interesting world of Korean literature. And today we are going to talk about a book that is by the winner of last year's prestigious Nobel Prize in Literature. Now, she is actually the first Asian female to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. As many of you would know, she is the Korean author Han Kang. And today we're going to talk about one of her most famous and popular books, that is Human Acts. So please stay tuned for our discussion today on Human Acts as well. And to help us better navigate through what this book is all about, we are joined by a new special guest. Her name is Andrea. Welcome to the show, and please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Hi everybody, my name is Andrea. I'm from Colombia. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, great. Thank you for joining us, Andrea, once again. And I heard that you have a profound interest in Korean culture and Korean history. You're currently studying at the Academy of Korean Studies, am I right?
Yeah, I'm studying right now Korean cultural studies. Well, it was in 2011, like many years ago, that I started like kind of being into cultural content from Korea. But I didn't read a lot of literature at that time. However, in 2022, there was the Filbo, that is a really big fair in Colombia for literature, and Korea was like the guest of honor. And then a lot of Korean literature just like arrived to the country. For instance, there is a publishing house in Argentina that it was founded in 2019, that they are just focused on Korean literature. And they bring a lot of books. And then, well, we have books like from Han Kang. Well, I started reading Korean literature at that moment because of that.
Great. So Andrea will help us better understand the literary world of Han Kang, and of course what we're going to talk about today, which is the novel Human Acts. So the Swedish Academy last year, when it announced that Han Kang will be the winner of the Nobel Prize in Literature, it specifically mentioned that she became the awardee of the prize because her books were an intense poetic prose that confronted historical trauma and exposing the fragility of human life. So Andrea, as you mentioned, you have read Han Kang's books. So I want to ask you, as a reader of those books by Han Kang, can you relate to what the Swedish Academy said? What did you like about Han Kang's books, or specifically Human Acts?
Well, totally. I really like Human Acts. Like in my case specifically, I knew about like Gwangju in 2019, and then I decided to come to Korea in 2020. I lived in Gwangju for 6 months as an exchange student. And then later in 2023, 2022, when I was reading the book, I read the book in Spanish, the translation in Spanish. And when I was reading, I cry a lot because
I think a lot of readers, almost every reader did, I guess.
Yeah. The thing is that in 2020, when I was in Gwangju, I was able to get into the buildings of the provincial office, and I was able like to be like in those spaces. So when I was reading the book, and then the descriptions were so vivid about what happened, how it was, well, I cry and I feel it like really painful and hurting, but at the same time, it was interesting how literature just brings us like those kind of feelings.
Right. So there's a reason why a lot of readers of Human Acts felt immense pain and tragedy when they read the book Human Acts, because it's based on a real historical event, should I say. It's based on the May 18th Gwangju democratization movement, which is a very, very important moment in modern Korean history. So it's basically happened in the city of Gwangju and the nearing Jeollanam-do province in the year of 1980. So it happened on May 18th of 1980, and it went on for almost about 10 days. And it was basically a democratization movement because citizens went onto the streets fighting for democracy, and they were basically rising up against military oppression. And I think that when I read this book, Andrea, I was quite interested because of the difference in titles, because in the original Korean version of the book, it is called 소년이 온다, which can be directly translated to the boy is coming, but the actual official English title is Human Acts. So what kind of language did you first read this book?
Well, the first time that I read it, it was in Spanish. So in Spanish, the title is Actos Humanos. That is literal translation, like from English, Human Acts. And it's really interesting because, like in the Korean version, the focus is in Dong-ho, like perspective in his voice. And I think, like in Spanish and English, yes, we are talking also about his voice, but trying like to make it a little bit like more universal, like in the way that it's not just about his story, it's about his story can be the story of anyone.
Right, definitely. So today for our first episode on Human Acts, we are going to focus on the two chapters that are based on May of 1980, once again, the very month that this democratization movement took place. And Andrea, I also want to mention that as a reader, when I first read Human Acts, I was also very drawn into by the point of view of chapter 1 and 2, because once again, they're very different. So chapter 1 is from a second person's point of view, and chapter 2 is based on one of the characters whose name is Chongdae, who is, I don't want to spoil this, but we have to talk about this, who died in this movement. And the story is developed from the viewpoint of the spirit of Chongdae. So that really kind of intrigued me because from my experience, not a lot of books develop their stories through these points of view. So I want to ask your take on this unique type of developing the plot.
For me, it was really interesting. Like, I started with the first chapter. You don't really know the name of the characters. And then you go like page by page, and it is, okay, why is he there?
Yeah.
Why he decide like to, for instance, stay in this provincial office, like helping other people. And then later, almost half of the chapter, you say, oh, that boy has a name. It's Dong-ho. Okay, and then like how he also connects with other people.
Right.
But at the beginning, it's just like using the pronouns you. And then like with this pronoun, it's like, okay, it's not just about that character. It's not just about like that boy that is there, but it's also an invitation to the reader that you are part of the story.
Yeah.
You can be there. So it's like you are seeing what is happening through my eyes with your eyes.
So I think that this is another point where the viewers feel like, oh, this book is very vivid and this experience feels very lively because of the second person's point of view, the reader can feel that, oh, I'm also at the scene of the Gwangju democratization movement. I time travel back to May of 1980 in Gwangju. I totally agree. And I guess this is one of the reasons why the Swedish Academy acknowledged her amazing works and gave her last year's Nobel Prize in Literature.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that, Andrea, another reason why many of our viewers felt that this book is very vivid and it clearly captures the scene of Gwangju back in May 1980 is because Han Kang, the writer, did a lot of research while she was preparing and writing this book, because I remember that, especially when it comes to the story of the two boys, Dong-ho and Chongdae, I remember that it was also based on a real story. So a boy actually went to the provincial office to find his friend.
A middle schooler.
Yeah,
yes.
A middle schooler who later found out that his friend actually died. So I think that because all of this plot and even the characters were based on what really happened specifically in Gwangju, people felt that, wow, this feels so real. And I just want to add that many readers, and for viewers who are watching, many international readers who are aware of Han Kang and who know who Han Kang is, they mostly think of the book The Vegetarian when they think of Han Kang. But back in December during Nobel Week, Han Kang actually suggested the best book to start exploring her literary world is Human Acts. And then if you read Human Acts, then you'll get a better understanding of her other books such as The Vegetarian. So if you have time, please check this amazing book Human Acts when you have time. So for this episode today, we focused focused on the two first chapters, chapter 1 and 2. But for our next episode, which will air next Tuesday, we will focus on the final 4 chapters, which are from chapters 3 to 6. And Andrea, I'm sure that you'll get to join us once again.
I hope. Thank you.
And thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah.
We had a wonderful time.
Yeah. For me, it was like great to talk about the book and well, like to read you and to be part of like this project.
Great. And thank you to our viewers once again for spending time with us and tuning in to our show. And we'll see you next Tuesday at the same time. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.